So we all know we should save, don't spend more than you actually make, invest, blah, 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 right? Okay, we get it. But there are some things that have become clear as day and super apparent during this pandemic that I noticed that I want to share with you guys. So in this video, let's talk about things that I think that you should be watching out for, ways that you should prepare, because I honestly think that we are at just the beginning of this economic collapse. Things will get a little bit more, intense. So watch the video to the end to find out some action items you can take and just things that I've noticed. So keep it locked for all that and more. It's Crystal with the Cash Compass. All right, so welcome back. I am here to teach you all the things that you should have learned in school about money, but for whatever reason, they forgot to mention it. Please be sure to subscribe because we talk about everything from personal finance to investing to the economy. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so I am on vacation actually, so this is pre-recorded. So if you want to see my vacation, be sure to follow me at The Cash Compass on Instagram and follow my daughter too at Naturally Cameron. We are going to be, kind of taking a road trip. So pray for me. I've never taken a road trip with a 2-year-old, but at any rate, you're not here for that. So the first thing I've noticed is that it's honestly super easy to save when you are forced to, right? I don't know about you guys, but my savings had a healthy boost during this economy shutdown because, well, the economy was shut down, right? So let me know in the comments if you guys have seen a dramatic boost to your savings or, you just noticed you had a little bit of extra money to play with because you couldn't do anything. And although I consider myself really good with money, it was actually shocking to see how much I could save by, being forced to. And that can actually challenge you to think about your budget in a different way, right? Because I know it's nice to go on vacations and it's nice to go shopping and do things every single weekend. But what have you guys been doing while you were in quarantine? And can you incorporate some of that when things actually open back up fully? I know personally for me, we would normally be out every single weekend doing a little something. It's never anything crazy. But since quarantine, I've been, finding creative ways to just still have fun in the house. So I definitely think I will be carrying that over just to be a little bit more aggressive with savings because like I said, I think things are going to get a little bit more interesting and I definitely want to make sure that I am properly prepared. And of course, you're not going to be able to save everything like you've saved during quarantine because there's like gas and there's other things that you might have not been able to pay for. Like for me, my daughter's in swimming classes. Obviously, ain't no swimming going on, so I couldn't, pay for that, but I will be paying for it once it opens back up. But there were definitely things that I said, all right, we're going to make some changes here. Whether or not you are still working from home, it's a good idea to, take a sit down with your budget and see what you can change around, We have to really start thinking about how we're going to get more creative, how we're going to become more self-sufficient out here. And now is the time to figure that out. Another thing that is crucial during this time is it is important to speak up, right? Make sure you are speaking up if you are in any financial struggles. There have been so many people who have had to get deferments or, make late payments because obviously without income, it's a little bit hard to pay your bills, right? But you have to be vocal. Please do not try to reason with the repo man after your car is already on the tow truck. That will not work. You will be a foot soldier. But if you get in front of that and you let them know, hey, letting you know right now, didn't pay my bills, what are my options? These companies will work with you. I've seen a tremendous amount of support. I almost hate to call that because banks are far from supportive. And if you've watched my channel long enough, you know how I feel about the banking system. But if you do speak up, it will put you in a much better position. You want to be very vocal with your lenders. You don't want them to just come for you when it's already, too late. They can work out payment plans. You'll have more options when you actually speak to somebody. So I urge you, if you haven't done so yet, don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you've had all these missed payments. Talk to them and see what your options are. Next thing that I have learned is that people will still not prepare even though it is blatantly obvious that there are problems going on right now, okay? I saw something that said that a lot of people spent their $1,200 stimulus check on alcohol and big screen TVs. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've been having some wind down Wednesdays, maybe a little bit more than I normally would have, but, I'm home. But for big screen TVs and alcohol and a whole bunch of other things that don't really make sense to be skyrocketing right now is absolutely nuts when back in 2019, and I'm sure in 2020 as well, people couldn't even come up with $400, okay? The majority of Americans didn't even have $1,000 in their bank account, so why would you use $1,200 to go and buy a big screen TV and liquor? And there was a boost in savings, but like I said before, they were kind of forced to save that money. And once they started opening back up, we saw a spike in the amount of spending actually go up as well. There was also a spike in home improvement. And of course, I love HGTV as the next person does, but I do think it's really important to make sure you have a good amount of savings. You have a cushion, right? You're not spending your very last on a brand new house. Another interesting thing is unemployment has made people feel like they're rich, okay? A lot of Americans do not make more than $33,000. So it's quite obvious when you get $600 per week added to your unemployment benefits. A lot of people are making more money than they were making actually going to work and kind of being at a place that they hate, right? So that motivates people to just kind of be a little bit more lax, maybe not actively look for a job, maybe try to milk this out until the end of July. And if you are somebody who has been in this predicament and you are receiving unemployment, please try to apply for jobs right now. I know things are still looking crazy. I know the world is not really back where it needs to be, but you don't want to be that person at the end of July applying for jobs when the unemployment money runs out, right? Because at July 31st, it's over with. So if you can, to the extent that you can anyways, try to look for work right now. Don't become lazy. Don't wait for an extension. Yes, there is an extension, being discussed right now, but we don't know that for sure. And you don't want to live your life off of maybes. Another thing, now more than ever, we need to be focused on finances, okay? I know I'm a little bit nerdy, so personally, I enjoy looking at personal finance things. But if you look at Google Trends, we have Justin Bieber, TV shows, The Undertaker not wanting to go to wrestling anymore. Really? When there's 30 million people unemployed, the last thing we should care about is whether people want to wrestle or not, okay? And I'm not going to say it's totally their fault, right? Because we have mainstream media and they are not really telling everybody, savings is the new sexy. We have a lot of distractions going on. And it's really hard to kind of focus on your personal things when everything else is just a little bit more interesting, right? But we have to kind of get realigned and really think about our futures and how are we going to survive this, because not everybody becomes poor after recessions. A lot of people use this as a big sale and they can actually take advantage of it. And I want that to be you and me, okay? We're going to do this together. And we can't do that by watching The Undertaker. When you have the Federal Reserve and the government that is giving out stimulus left to right, it's really important to really think about your investments. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. All right, so the next one is the stock market and the real world are just two completely different worlds. They're on two different paradigms. They don't exist in the same dimension anymore, okay? And honestly, this has been going on well before this pandemic, but the pandemic has really made that blindly obvious. I went into great detail on that in this video up here, so I don't want to double up the information. But basically, things have been chaotic since Popeyes came up with that chicken sandwich, okay? Trump keeps on parading the stock market as his biggest accomplishment, but it's heavily manipulated, and you cannot take credit for something that is so manipulated. If you got straight A's in school and it all was because you was cheating on the next person's test, can you take credit for that? You can, but did you really do it though? And that coupled with the fact that the Federal Reserve has been just injecting money into the system, the government has been throwing out grants and bailouts left to right. This is a recipe for a disaster. Please do your research. Don't blindly listen to anybody. Don't blindly discredit anybody. Always spend time with these thoughts and make it make sense to you, right? If you were to come across some financial issues, right? Let's say you lost your job, what would you do? Hopefully it would be spending less, seeing how you can cut out some expenses, and obviously trying to get a new job and getting some new form of income, okay? But the government's answer to losing money is, let's just spend more money, right? We don't have a lot of tax revenue because a lot of people are not working. And instead of trying to see how we can cut our expenses, let's just give more money in the form of bailouts. Let's give out some more loans. Let's give out extra unemployment benefits. I'm not saying that people don't need this. Obviously, some people will argue that we absolutely had to do that because if we didn't, people would be hungry. And I totally get that. However, it just doesn't really make sense from an intuitive standpoint. If you're not making a lot of money, the answer is not to spend even more than you were spending when you had a job, so to speak, okay? but that's exactly what the government's doing. They have issued record number of bonds, and that's basically a fancy way of saying loans. I'm sure you guys know that already. But they have been borrowing money hand over fist to just try to pay for these stimulus packages, and I do believe that we will have another one. So that's more trillions of dollars being, loaned into existence from the Federal Reserve. And if I've lost you, I do have a video up here discussing the Federal Reserve, so definitely check that out. There has been over 4,000 fiat currencies, and they have all gone to zero. A lot of people don't think America can go to zero. And you know what? Maybe it can, maybe it won't. I mean, who knows? Honestly, they've been manipulating things for so long, and so far things haven't, blown up. So it could probably go on for another decade. I don't know. But I'd rather have the least amount of downside potential, right? So let's say I get my precious metals. I learn how to farm. I just become as self-sufficient as possible. What's the downside of that? There really isn't any, right? There's no downside to having precious metals. They have never gone to zero, and they've been around for much longer than we have. I would say at least 5,000 years, right? If you know how to make your own food, if you know how to grow your own food, you'll be eating. There is little downside and a great amount of upside. And that's how you should kind of, attack everything that you deal with. What is the downside? If I'm wrong, well, I'm prepared. And if I'm right, well, then I'm really, really going to be ahead of a lot of people. And that's what I want for you. Hey, okay, my light just died. But that's what I really want for everybody too, okay? And that was a visual representation, actually, of what would happen to you if you do not get prepared right now, okay? Lights out. But like I was saying, you don't want to be in a very bad position. So think about becoming as self-sufficient as possible. Think about what happened during this pandemic and where you felt like, maybe you need to improve on. For me personally, I don't know how to make my own food. It would be nice to have some seeds in the house. I mean, that's like a total absolute worst case. But like I said, very little downside. Seeds cost like about $20 to $40 depending on what you buy. And it comes with like thousands of seeds. Worst case, I spent $20. Best case, I could eat. But let me know what are some things that you guys have learned about during this pandemic. Definitely share ideas. The comments always has like a great amount of resources. So talk to each other, talk to me. I read all of them, and I definitely want to know what your thoughts are. All right, and that will do it. If you like this video, then please like this video and share with your friends. And please consider subscribing if you made it this far. And if you have anything else going on, you know what I'm going to say. Go ahead and binge watch me. And until next time, keep your money up.